Hello, everyone. My name is Paul, and I'm a nerd. And we're just laughing, and we're trying to decide whether or not I can tell the story about how I took the phone in with me, clipped my belt to go to the bathroom, and hadn't muted it. So I think we decided not to tell the story, so we won't tell that story. But everybody here is having a great time right now. How are you? You are attending our, well, it's actually a, I'm so confused. We're having so much fun with the unmuted phone and the bathroom trip that you are not really attending the Practice Master Virtual User Group. Do not turn around and leave. You're attending the TABS 3 Virtual User Group meeting. And we will begin shortly. How about now? Today we are talking about pre-bill tracking. Mary Jo's going to talk about that. It's something we haven't talked about in quite a while. And I'm going to talk about the new update notification and check for updates feature in version 17. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. Normally, if you were attending a live event, this is where you'd find out where the bathrooms are, but you're not. So this is your GoToWebinar control panel. And if you have already gotten rid of it, then you know that this button right here that looks like an arrow pointing to the right is what you click to get this out of the way. If this is covering up part of my screen, you'll want to click this button to get this big part out of the way. And when you click that, this will slide out of the way. These buttons will still show, and this one will turn into a button that looks like an arrow pointing to the left. Clicking that again will cause you to expose this GoToMeeting control panel, and that's where you would type a question if you're feeling shy. So if you click this to get rid of it, and then later you want to ask a question, just click the button again. It will show this panel. You'll be able to type a question right here. Don't forget to hit the send button. Leanne, our humble moderator, will interrupt either me or Mary Jo at the appropriate time, and she will ask your question on your behalf. If you have follow-up questions, continue to type them here. Do not forget to continue to hit send after you're done typing the follow-up questions. And Leanne will just keep asking your questions until we get them answered. If you are feeling a little bit bold, you can press this button here that looks like a hand with an arrow pointing upward in front of it. That means raise your hand. Leanne will notice that you have raised your hand, and she will interrupt Mary Jo or I at the appropriate time. But this time, what she will do then is unmute you so that you can ask your own question. So, without any further ado, I'm going to press this button, and I'm going to go like this. And we're going to turn it over to Mary Jo, who's going to talk about the pre-bill tracker.
I think I'm recovered enough that I can actually speak. Okay, so pre-bill tracking. A lot of times clients don't know how to use it or how to utilize it to their benefit when they're doing statements and bills.
Or even that it's there.
Or that it's even there, that's correct. So I'm going to kind of walk you through the process for doing billing out of the box, or how it's designed to work. Now, you may have some modifications that you do because you might prepare statements a little differently, and that's fine. But I will show you where it is, how to use it, and what to do. So normally when we do our statements, we're preparing draft bills. We are giving those out to the attorneys to correct and modify. We get them back. We make all of our changes. We final bill, and then we update the statements. Well, pre-bill tracking is a little place that can kind of streamline that process a little bit. And it's right on the Statements tab. It's here. It's called pre-bill tracking. And when you open it, there may be some things on pre-bill tracking right now. Anytime you run a draft statement, it automatically populates pre-bill tracking with that draft statement. And you can see in here that I have some pre-bills that are dated 10/31 of 2014 because we were in test data, so this is an older, or I guess it's advanced date in here. You would have whatever date you ran the pre-bills, and this is the date that you put in the statement date. So whatever that is, that will be this batch. And every time you run a group of draft statements, you have a batch number that those are grouped together. So let's say that you do these by attorney, by primary attorney or originating attorney, and you run your drafts in that format. You run a group for primary attorney number 1. It will create a batch of draft statements in here with a batch number for that group. If you do them for attorney number 2, and then you'll come in and it'll have a batch number. If you just run all wide open, it's going to have all of the statements grouped into a batch number. And I'll show you why that's important later if you want to sort the list. But if you come in here and you have not run your draft statements first, it's okay to delete these names and list on this particular screen. Now, when I first saw this, it terrified me. I was afraid to delete anything on here. I didn't know what it was going to do. All these are is just showing that you created a draft statement at some point. And if you use the WIP report and you're updating pre-bill tracking, that will also populate this list as well. So either way you do it, some people use WIP reports, other people use the draft statement. Either one, you can still use pre-bill tracking. So before I run my batch of statements for the month or the period or whatever I'm going to do, I come in here and I just wipe this out, because I could have come into Client Manager and just quick looked at, previewed a draft statement. Well, that populates in here. And I don't want any junk in here when I'm getting ready to do my billing. So I just highlight everything, or if I don't highlight anything and just click on the delete, I have three options. I can delete the selected, delete all records displayed, or I can delete a range of batch numbers. So if I know I just want to delete batch number 17, I could do that. But what I do for I just delete all the records that are displayed. I want it clean. So I come in and I delete that, and now I've got a clean list. I don't want anything in it. When I get done, I then go run my draft statements for whatever group or whatever I want to do. So I'm going to go into my generate statements, and I'm just going to leave it open for this purpose, because with test data, I don't even know how many attorneys have time or not. But you would run them. This would be the time that you would do your, primary, if you're doing them in batches that way, or just all together. So I'm going to go to the options. I'm just going to leave it as the date it thinks is today, and do my draft statements. I'm going to run those. I'm just going to preview them, but this is where you would print them off and do whatever you're going to do for your corrections and things. But once that's done, go ahead and close. And I'm going to go back to pre-bill tracking. And now every single draft statement that I printed is on my list with the day's date. And see, it has today's date on there, 2/24/14, because I ran those today, and that was the date that I had in my pre-bill statement number, because today's the 24th. So all of them are here. I would go hand them out, go make my corrections, and then now I'm ready to do final bills. So I already have all of my draft statements on here, and I can even sort this list. You can either click on the timekeeper column. Let's say I want to do it by timekeeper, and I have all my 1s together, my 2s, my 3s, and my 5s. Or I can go under my options tab, and I could sort this then by, I just want to see primary timekeeper number 1, and I would just see his list, and so on. So if you're doing your bills in batches, you hand them out to all the attorneys, and attorney number 2 and 5 gets you theirs back. I don't have to wait. I can come in here and I can just sort and say, all right, I want to see all of attorney number 2's. I can see them on the list, and then I can sort and just work on his draft bills and then final bill them. So once I get in here and I want to bill these, you have a couple of options. You can either review the bill and put a check mark. There's two columns over here. One is for hold and one is for review. You have to review everything. So if I click on this and just double click, it means I reviewed it, and then when I'm ready to do final statements, I can just click final statements and it will create a final bill for me. If I wanted to hold this statement, let's say I get down to a contingent case or a probate case, and I wanted to review it. I wanted to see what the time was on a draft statement, but I don't want to bill it this time. I can just take that particular one and I can mark it hold. And that says that I reviewed this bill, but I'm holding it. I do not want to prepare a final bill. So when I look at this list, when I get all done reviewing all of my statements and marking them either reviewed or hold, when I hit this final statement button, it will only create statements for the ones that I have just a check mark in the R column. It will not create a statement or a final bill for anything with a hold on here. Something else that you can do, you can control and click, so you can pick and choose different ones, or you can hit shift and you can choose all, or do a batch of them. So you don't have to sit here and double click on each one or mark them that way. And you can also do that for holds. So if I wanted to hold these two, I can just mark and click hold, and it will just check them off for me automatically. So it makes it a little quicker as you're going through your list to choose the ones that you want to do final bills for. If I don't check anything, it won't prepare a bill as well. But I recommend that you go through this list and you have a check mark in every single column either a hold or a check mark to review. Don't leave any blank and hanging out there because you should have looked at it and you should have been saying, well, nope, I want to prepare it or I don't. And that just helps things not fall through the cracks as well. So let's say I'm going to take these off and I'm going to prepare some final bills for a couple of these. So I'm going to just choose a few. These ones are ready to go out. I am going to leave them blank for now, but the other ones would all be held. Actually, let me do a couple of holds. I might as well so that I can show you the right way here. So the other ones I'm going to hold. And so now I'm going to go in and click my final statements. And what it'll do is take me right back out to my Generate Statement screen, but you'll notice that there's no Client tab. That Client tab is not there because I've already chosen which clients I'm billing for back on pre-bill tracking. So now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to choose the same dates that I want for to end my fees and expenses and advances and payments on, just like I were preparing my final bills and Generate Statements. It's already marked final because it knows I'm going to do this. And then I can just change my statement date to be today or whatever date that I want. And again, you can sort by however you want as well. It's just like running Generate Statements at this point, except you've already picked which clients. I would say, okay, we're going to preview it. It's going to prepare my finals. I'm just going to close them for now. You would print them out. And then I'm going to go back to pre-bill tracking to show you what's happened here. Now you can see that every one that I have a check mark in just the R column, it now has a date in the final bill column. So now I know that these have final bills that have been run. These ones are held. There is no date there, so no statement was prepared. And now they're ready to update. So if I go out to my update statements, we'll go ahead and update those. Now I'm just going to update everything that's out there. I think there was a couple of clients. And then I'm going to go back to my pre-bill tracking. And now all of those bills that I had prepared a final for have fallen off my list. They're completed. I've done the draft. I've done I've reviewed them. I've printed my final. I've updated. They're no longer on my pre-bill tracking list. And now the only ones that are left are my holds. And I know I'm not going to prepare anything for these this month or this week. When I'm ready to do it, I'll prepare another draft statement and look at it because I'll probably add some time or, we'll review this later. So these ones, again, I'm done with my billing for this. I can delete them. I don't need them on here. So I'm going to clear my list again. Oops, I wanted to do all. I thought I clicked that. But so I would just delete all displayed. And now my list is clean again for the next time I do billing. But again, I would check it before I start my next batch of bills, and I would then start this process all over. Now, another thing that we have on here is the print report.
Hey, Mary Jo.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There's a couple questions.
Okay. Go ahead.
So the first one, when you place a statement on hold on the pre-bill tracking, does it have to be released later, or is it automatically released the next time you run drafts?
Yeah, it does not do anything to the client. It does not change it and put it on hold. It's just that draft statement that you prepared. You're saying, yep, I reviewed it, and I'm going to hold it. But you would just delete it like I just deleted here, and the next time you run draft statements, it would just repopulate in this list. It does not change any settings. It doesn't place the client on hold over there. It's just in the pre-bill tracking window. So you delete it when you're done. You repopulate it the next time you do drafts, and it won't have any more time or anything that you've included on there.
Okay, thank you. And the next question, how do you email final statements without printing them?
Okay, I'll show you emailing statements in just a second, just because the window is similar. This is just preparing the drafts and running your finals and updating the statements, which all of those things need to be done before you email statements. Now, you can update on the statement window, on the email statements window, but this is still the same process. You still bill and do your pre-bills, you do your finals before you ever email. So this particular window, we don't do anything with email. It's just the billing part.
Okay, there's a third question. And when you're looking at the pre-bill screen and you mark a draft bill reviewed and then run the final bill from the pre-bill tracking, tabs will take into account any corrections you've made since the draft was run, right?
Correct. Correct. Yep. So you went out to client manager, wherever it is that you've made those corrections, and when you run the final, it will have those corrections on there, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So one other thing, when you populate this report, something that I like to do, because I don't know if there's any attorneys in this session or not, but
I give you permission to make fun of them anyway.
If there are, I apologize, but you know, administrators, we all know that we prepare pre-bills and we take them to our attorneys to review, and somewhere in the process of them reviewing it and us getting them back, like several bills get piled underneath things and we have to go try to track those down later, and then they tell us, oh, I never got that one, whatever, right? So if you've had that happen, I'm sure, what you can do is once you have printed, I'm just going to go ahead and rerun these drafts again, okay? I'm going to run some more. I'm going to put them back on my list, and just a little tip, you can come in here to your pre-bill tracking, and once those are populated on the list, you can sort this by attorney. Again, you can do the options, and let's say you want to give attorney number 1 their bills. You can just sort this and just show attorney number 1, and you can print the report. That is a report of all of the pre-bills that you just ran, and it's going to have this list right there. So I would print 2 copies, one for them that you put on the top of their pre-bills when you hand them to them, and have a copy for you so that when you get them back, you can say, okay, here's the list I just gave you. Here's all the pre-bills that you should have, and these are what I should get back. I can't tell you that it's going to help you get them back any sooner. I wish I had that magic formula to do that for you, but I can't. But that will at least give you a way to track that, yes, you did prepare the pre-bill, you did give it to them, and you are expecting to get it back. So, and you would just preview that. It's just going to, again, just give you the list that you can print by timekeeper. So that, and you can print your list with everybody on it, or you can print this with, you know, this is test data. Obviously, there's not that many bills, but I know you may have quite a few. I think I used to run them just by primary or whatever and just have it right there with it. So, but that's another little tip that you can do to help out. Any other questions?
There is one more question.
Mm-hmm.
When you edit a pre-bill, will the date automatically update on the pre-bill tracker?
No, it does not. It's just going to stay the date that you originally ran the pre-bill. And it doesn't matter because that's not going to be the date that actually prints on the final. This is just a way for you to come in and say, okay, here's the batch that I ran on 2/24. Because if you run batches of them, you know, maybe you run attorneys 1 through 5 on Monday and you run 6 through, 10 on Tuesday, or whatever you have, you can keep that there. And also, I told you with the batch numbers, you can also sort by that under the options. And you have some other filters in here as well. So if I just wanted to see all of the ones I'd run a final for, I can actually include just the final. Or I just want to see all the holds, because this list, like I said, this is a small list. Your list is going to be quite long with all of the bills that you prepare. So this is just a way, you just tell me the ones that are reviewed or whatever you want here. And then you also can sort by a batch number. So if you are using batch number and you have like batch 1 through 10 or whatever it is, you can go specifically to that particular batch. And that is helpful if you have quarterly bills you do, or a certain location or a certain group of clients and you have them all under a batch and not by primary. The batch number would be the better way to go. Otherwise, if you're running them by primary, or secondary originating, you can just sort them this way.
Okay, 2 more questions, Mary Jo.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So there's 2. The first one is on the pre-bill tracking report. Is there a way to show the parameters that you use to run the bills, like what dates you ran or timekeepers?
It's just going to show, if I look at this report, whatever is on my screen right now, that's what's going to be on here. So I can see this one is just breaking it down by primary. I do have the batch number on there. I do have the date that it was run. And even if I'd held or reviewed, you can print this report at any time. So let's say that I had checked off a few of these. Let's just check a couple here and there. And then also, let me grab a couple here, and let's do these as holds. And then I look at my report. I'm going to see that information that I've got some reviewed, some held, all of that's there. Now, if I sort this report and just show just like attorney number 1, and I was putting that on there and print the report, I'm only going to see their information for that. So I'm only seeing the printout of what's on that sheet, basically.
Okay, the next question is this the same in previous versions as well? And if not, what is the first version that you can have the pre-build tracker?
It is the same in previous versions, and I want to say that it has been out for quite a while.
I think as far back as...
At least 14, and I think it's even been on versions prior to that, and most of our clients should be. And if you aren't, I'm going to recommend that you get updated because version 14 is no longer supported by maintenance. So you want to get up at least to 15. I would recommend you go all the way up to 17 where we are, but obviously 14 and beyond definitely is the same as what we're talking about. It may be in 12. I don't remember.
I think it started in 11 or 12.
Yeah, I think it's been back. So if you are on an older version, you should have it. But 14 is the same as this is and up. I know that for sure. Other questions, Leanne?
No more questions.
Okay, somebody asked me about the email. So if you are using pre-build tracking and you do that, just a quick, we're not going to talk about this too long, but the email statements icon here, if you look at this, you can see it's very similar to pre-build tracking. So if you're using this, you will already know pretty much how to do pre-build tracking. Or if you're using pre-build tracking, emailing statements is going to be very similar. So you're going to have your list, and in this case, you can see that these statements are updated. There's an additional column. If it wasn't, it would say that it was final build or something. It needs to be updated, something like that in this statement status. But you see you still have a H and an R, a hold and review, and you would do the same thing. At this point, you've already done your statements. Now you are going to select the ones that you actually want to email, and you might hold some of those emails. Maybe you don't want to email that yet. You want to wait, or you want to check it. So this you can actually get into, view and edit the actual email if you have a special message for a certain matter. And again, you would choose these in groups or by control or select them and hold or review them, and then you'll just send the ones that are reviewed, and it will just automatically then email the ones you've checked off. So that's where the emailing comes into play. It's not on the pre-build tracking. It's over here on the email statements tab.
It's kind of like an extension. First you go through pre-build tracking, then you go through emailing your statements that you've prepared in final form from pre-build tracking.
Mm-hmm.
More questions, Dan?
There aren't any more questions.
Gosh.
Okay. I'm going to turn it over to Paul.
I thought she was just going to talk forever. It's my turn now. I'm going to talk very quickly about something that's new in version 17. It's the ability to check for updates right here from help. Now, if you have a prior version, you know that you would go into Internet Resources, and I can't remember what it was called, but it would take you to the website where you would have to know the release date of your software, and you'd have to compare it to the release date of what was out there. Here, it's different. You simply go into help and check for updates, and it will either tell you that there is an update out there, as this is doing, or it will tell you that there are no updates. So you don't have to know anything when you want to check to see if you have the latest version. You just click that help icon or help menu item and then check for updates, and it'll tell you. And then it goes even a little further. With the other, you would fill in some information and then download it and run it. But here, you can actually go to download it right from the software. And then even after you get done downloading it, you can close the software up behind you, get everybody out, and you can update your software right from here. So the whole process has been built into the program. This is not something that everybody has access to. It's something that can be blocked for certain users by how you define their access profile. Of course, a manager would have this right. But it takes that whole process and puts it right up here so that you don't have to really understand what version you have or what release date you have. You don't have to go and download it and then go out to Windows Explorer and run something. It's all encapsulated right in the program. Now, there's another feature of this. I'm going to abort this. There's another feature of this that doesn't even require that you check help. If you've had the software for a while, you've at some point gotten an email from STI, probably from Bruce, who's the product manager, telling you that a problem has been discovered with the release that you have. If you haven't gotten this, fine. That just means you have never had a release that's had a problem, that you had the right circumstances that it might cause a problem for you. And then they would ask you at your earliest convenience to go out and download this latest update to solve whatever critical problem they've discovered with the software. they've alleviated the need for them to tell you this via email because that's very unreliable. They can't tell for certain that you've gotten this message. They aren't able to get the information to you as quickly as they can this way because now there's a feature called a critical update that when a manager signs into the software, if there is a critical update, one of these updates that really should be downloaded right now because of a problem that's been discovered, it will simply pop up and tell you and give you the same opportunity to download and install that critical update. Now, something to be aware of is that all managers will get these critical update notifications. In some of our older firms or some of our smaller firms, or a combination of the two, or even some of our bigger firms, sometimes we have situations where all the people in billing or all the people in the firm altogether are made managers. Not all that common, but it does happen. And so if you are getting to version 17, you really want to take a look at who's a manager. Because with this new critical update notification capability, you don't want everybody in the world, everybody in the firm getting notified every time there's a critical update. They don't happen very often. But when they do, if everybody gets notified, then your phone's going to ring 18 times that morning because everyone's telling you there's this critical update. It also gives the potential for that person to not know what to do, to click the wrong button, to actually start to do the update, and to kick everybody out of the software. So you really want to make sure that managers are people that are set up as managers are only the people that should be getting this notification. Now, in some of our firms, there are a number of people that should be set up as managers. Some of our larger firms will have 3, 4, 5, 6 people that are managing the system in some way, either because they're billing people or they're accounting people or they're the controller or the administrator. And even then, you don't want all those people getting that notification. You really just want one person or maybe 2 people getting this notification. So in instances like that, what we've actually done is gone in and create a manager 2 group. If you go into system config, if you're allowed to go in there, you will see that there is a, when you go into users, you'll see that some people are set up as managers. And if you have some people that you want to have all the administrative rights of managers, but you don't want them to get those update notifications, all you do is create an access profile like manager 2. Give it a name, give it all the rights except this one, check for software updates. And then those people can do everything except for get those critical update notifications and do updates. So you'd go through to all the programs. And if you don't know how to do this, we have some, I believe we have some video on how to manage access profiles. And we can help you do this as well. But that's something to consider with this new critical update capability, is that if you have a whole bunch of people that are managers, you really want to alleviate that situation and get just a few people in the manager group. Mine's not quite as exciting as Mary Jo's. Mine's kind of boring. Mine was about updates. Hers was about something exciting like pre-bill tracking. But are there any questions, Leanne?
I'm sorry, Paul, there's no questions.
Oh, well.
I'm just going to add just real quick, Paul, in case you don't know what version you are on, if you just go under Help and About, whatever program you're in, Tabs, Practice Master, whatever it is, it will show you what version you are right here at the top. A lot of people aren't sure, am I on 15.1, am I on 16, whatever, but that's where you can find it to see if you're on the most latest version of, and I'm talking about with pre-bill tracking if somebody didn't know if they're on, 11, 12, 14, whatever.
Right.
Usually it's on the splash screen when you sign in, it'll say version, whatever, but we don't always pay attention to that. So it's right here if you want to find it.
And if you're on version 17.1 here, all your programs will be that. You don't need to go into each individual program and check.
Correct.
It's impossible to get one of them updated to something and not bring the others with it. Okay, well, very good. Next month, in our TABS virtual user group meeting, which is where we are now, of course, we all know we're not in a Practice Master virtual user group meeting. Next month, in our TABS 3 virtual user group meeting, we will be talking about the exciting new feature in version 17.1 where we no longer close the month or year in General Ledger. And we're going to kind of make it into a total General Ledger session because the other topic is going to be the new chart of accounts in General Ledger, which if you've ever tried to edit your chart of accounts, you know how difficult it used to be. It is almost pleasant in version 17.1, and we're going to show that to you. Mary Jo will be talking about that, and I will be talking about the no-close functionality within version 17.1. And just in case you're interested, coming up at 2 o'clock, we have our Practice Master Virtual User Group meeting. And today we're talking about alarms, I am. And Mary Jo's talking about the new int. What does that mean? Integration. I can't read my own notes. Mary Jo's talking about the new integration functionality, and I'm talking about alarms. And next month in our Practice Master Virtual User Group meeting, we'll be talking about the new document management functionality that's built into 17.1 and the new WorldDocs integration functionality that's built into 17.1 also. So with that, everybody have a good rest of the day, a good rest of the week, a good rest of the month, and we will see you in March when it will be warm. Bye, everybody.